persecuted. What a testimony. Saying, hey, you can say what you want to about these guys, but can you deny what you see before you? Boy, I like the fact that, man, and nobody has my testimony. I can stand before you and say, hey, you remember me? You remember the trouble I got in? Man, you might have not known, but I was dealing with sin. I tried to do right. I put a smile on my face. I carried my Bible with me, but I was struggling. I was battling, but I can stand here today as a testimony that God changes everything. Oh, Peter and John and this man that was lame, they showed boldness. This man who was standing with Peter and John was once lame. He was crippled and unable to do anything for himself. But let me remind you of Ephesians chapter number 2 and verse number 1. The Bible says this, and you hath he quickened. You, personally, you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sin. What can a dead man do? Nothing. A dead man can do nothing, and neither could this lame man. But just like this man, God had to do for us, because in our crippling, sinful condition, we could do nothing for ourselves. These unworthy people showed boldness in their walk with the Lord. So these are the people that showed boldness, but I asked myself, why did they show boldness? Or how did they show boldness? And we see here in verse number 20, this is the why, the how. In verse number 20, after they had gone through the council and after they had stood up and said, hey, we're going to obey God rather than man, this is what they had come to the conclusion. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. Which we have seen and heard. They saw how God had transformed their lives. Hey, you know what? You don't have to look far. Just look at you. And think about where you were. And think about how much you struggled. And how sin had a grip on your life. And how you dealt with things. And you cannot break those chains that were upon you. But yet he changed your life. He gave you answer. He gave you peace. He gave you joy. You couldn't buy those things. But they saw how God had transformed their lives. They saw how God had transformed the lives of others. By a raised hand, raise your hand.